back on? I need to come to Frank. My name is Tyler Donovan, and I was...
Closer to the mic.
My name is Tyler Donovan, and I've been out of work for 4 weeks. My home mortgage is obligations. There's nothing I can do to refinance my home mortgage. What, if anything, will this legislation, anything else you're doing, you can help me with this, and then I have a follow-up to that.
Well, this legislation, but what I am working on will, I mentioned it before, I've introduced a bill to take the profit we have made on the TARP repayments in the form of interest, dividends, and warrants, which is now, on the first $200 billion, about $8 billion in the first year, and recycle it partly to cities like New Bedford, which has a terrible problem where there have been foreclosures, which blights neighborhoods, to give the city the money to buy up that foreclosed property, use it more constructively, but also to create a loan fund precisely for people like yourself, people who made sound decisions to get a mortgage, who didn't get an irresponsible mortgage, but who find themselves out of work and you can't pay a mortgage on unemployment compensation. I am going to be pushing for that bill. I was sorry that the president opposed it. I had a hearing on it. I'm going to push it when I come back, and it is to, as I said, take the TARP profits and lend them to people who are out of work so they can make their mortgage payments to be repaid once they get their jobs.
I asked for a follow-up. Do you have a follow-up? My follow-up to that question is, my situation is my own. I walked into it. I'm responsible for it. Why would I obligate the people who are surrounding me in this room right now to pay for my government is not your church. People don't want to give, assuming that you can do better with that money than they do.
Well, I disagree that it's socialism to have unemployment compensation. Well, I'm sorry, you finish.
Turn the mic back on.
The answer is, first of all, I differ with you that it is socialism to help people who, through no fault of their own, have lost their jobs. Unemployment compensation, by the way, is not just good for individuals. It's a very important way to get out of a recession. It's a counter-cyclical policy. That is, as people lose their jobs and can't make purchases, that drags down the whole economy. So unemployment compensation for a limited period of time, which is money from some to others who've lost their job. Now, if you lose your job and it's your fault, you're not supposed to be eligible. That isn't always well enforced, but no one is perfectly enforced. So I do think that it is legitimate to try to help people out. Secondly, I think you came deciding what you were going to tell me without listening to me, because what I said was we would lend the money to people, not give it to them. Yes, it comes from the... Not if it's... Okay, I'm sorry, sir. Again, you're not listening to me. It doesn't have to come from somewhere if it's going to be repaid. It is advanced by the profits we make in the TARP. But I said, and I'll be honest with you, I think you were prepared to respond without listening to me, that it has to be repaid. We're not talking here about the subprime mortgage situation. We're not giving money to people with subprime mortgages. We are telling the banks who imprudently, or not the bank so much as whoever lent them the money, who imprudently lent them the money, that they have to accept that, and we believe they should take less. But that's not public money. What I said was we would lend the money to people who were in trouble, not because they had a bad mortgage, but because they lost their job through no fault of their own. I would differ with you when you said that was your situation. Yeah, if you were imprudent in your mortgage, I'm sorry, so please.
No, you said you were different with me when you said when I said I was in a situation.
No. You said...
You think I made up a situation?
No, sir. You said you don't see why everybody should have to help with your personal situation. Did you not say that?
I don't believe it.
Okay, that's what I was saying.
All
right. I know, but I was simply saying that when you said, I was quoting what you said. And what I'm saying is this, I would differentiate between someone who was in difficulty because he or she was imprudent and someone who was in difficulty because the national economic crisis caused them to lose their jobs through no fault of their own. In those circumstances, we do increase, for instance, unemployment compensation. And I would say in the circumstance of someone who lost a job in this recession, lending them the money, and I keep stressing you, lend the money, and it would be lent to people who did not take out improved mortgages, which meant that if they got their jobs back, they'd be able to repay it. I do think that would be a useful thing to do, and it would be a loan to be repaid.
Good. Congressman Frank, good evening. Thank you for taking my question. My name is Don Poissant. I believe that this bill, specifically the public option, is the first incremental step towards a single-pay system. In the past, Obama himself has said that he is in favor of an eventual one-pay system. How will a private system be able to survive under this plan?
Well, I also say it will survive and prosper, the private insurance companies, if they provide better service. Remember, the argument against the public option is that when the government gets in, it will run it badly and that it will be too restrictive. I think there are contradictory arguments made against that plan. One is that when the government runs it, it will deny people free choice and it will be too restrictive, and two, it will be so attractive everybody will join it. If you're a lawyer, you can go into court and argue two opposite views. It's called arguing in the alternative. You can't really do that in any other case. Lawyers ought to be careful about it too. And the answer is, if the private plan provides better, faster service and doesn't restrict, then it will prosper. The public plan is up to the people. People aren't stupid. The public plan does not have a subsidy. It doesn't have the profit. The profit that goes to the private insurers' stockholders will be out of there. So the question is, and these are the two competing poles. A public plan would have less upfront expenses, but people fear that it would be too restrictive in terms of choices. If it is, rational people won't join it. So that's the answer. It will or will not lead to a single payer. By the way, I am not opposed to single payer. I like Medicare, and Medicare is single payer for elderly people. I'm sorry, but when you all yell at once. So the answer is what? Oh, Medicare is bankrupt. A couple of things I would say about that. First of all, yes, I am in favor of single payer, and that's why I like Medicare. You act as if you people have discovered it is August. I have been a co-sponsor of the single payer bill. I think it would be better. Let him yell, please. What did you want to say?
Who works for who here?
Oh, boy, here we go.
And then we watch tapes of Obama and everyone else secretly say they're in favor of an eventual single-pay system.
I haven't, sir, it's been 21 years since I had a secret. And I don't have one now. You have discovered that I'm a single payer. I've been a co-sponsor of single payer for years. I'm sorry, so may I, please, when you're through, I will explain this to you when you talk, which you prefer. I do believe this. I don't have the votes. The votes are not there in Congress for single payer. They may not even be there. People have made discoveries that everybody else knew for a long time. The fact is that here's the argument against public option. It will lead to a single payer if people overwhelmingly prefer it. Now, if you are one who thinks that when the government runs health care, it will do a lousy job and be too restrictive, you shouldn't worry that people will voluntarily choose it. I think many people may, because I think having to get health insurance and pay the profit element of it drives up the cost. But no, I have made no secret of this, and I don't understand you're astounding him by telling you I'm always in for it. I do believe that we will have a competition, and if you think that the private sector will do it much better than the public sector, why are you worried that people will voluntarily choose what you think will be the worst plan?